Morning. It's Monday at about 10, and it means it's time for relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. I don't know if you heard that or not. One of our cats came down to say hello. Hello, Seth. Yeah. Oh, yeah, as I was saying, relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons. What we're going to be doing today is something a little bit different. If you look at the screen there, is an example of one of these dragon eggs. These are printed on the 3D printers behind us, and what's really cool about them is that they are threaded, so you can unscrew them and fill them with whatever you feel like filling them with. Probably not a liquid unless you put like a seal, like a rubber washer kind of thing around there. I suppose you could do that. I suppose you could get one, a real thin one that would fit there. But otherwise, you're looking at, solid objects, and that they screw back together. And the threads work really pretty well. You just have to make sure that when you're done, they line up with the scales on the egg. And there's 3 of them here today. I'm not sure if I'll get all 3 done, but we're going to dive into it. And I have 2 color schemes selected. One is some metallics. I picked copper, bronze, and gold. And I'm going to do horizontal striping on this one. I've done like these diagonal kinds of stripes. I'm going to do one of those second. But the first one I haven't done a horizontal striping on an egg. So, one color there, and then, just alternate 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 all the way up to the top, and we'll see what happens when we get there. So I'm going to put it on the holder here. I'm actually going to... the way this works is that I like to paint up to the surface above. And so this kind of says I need to start at the top and work my way down so that I can get the paint over the edge of the scale, and then paint up to it. So I'm going to arbitrarily pick a spot to start the color because it gets really tiny and a little bit indistinct up at the top here. So I think I'm going to paint the very top of it up to here. I'm going to put the copper on the top. That's a really nice color. So I think what I'm going to do is go copper, gold, bronze. Yeah, we'll see how that looks. It should be okay. They can be Easter eggs. I think they were designed to be dragon eggs. And let me show you again. These are really cool. They got printed on the 3D printers behind us, and they are threaded so that you can open them and fill them with surprises or whatever you want. And I painted some of these a year ago, I guess. I guess it would be a year ago. And if you're watching the stream underneath me, as we show some of the things that had been painted before, you can see some that I did. So I've got 2 color schemes selected. One is a metallic. I'm going to start with that one. I'm using copper, bronze, and gold, and we'll see how those look together. And then I've got a color combination for who keeps joining us from time to time, who demands pink. So I have selected pink, purple, and azure for who, and who better show up. But I'm going to start with copper at the top, and then every third one, I'm going to paint the copper ones. I've done this before. So I paint the copper and then skip 2 rows and then copper and skip 2 and do copper and then go back and do the bronze and then gold and then go back and do the touch up with the copper at the very end. Anyway, that's the plan. So we'll see how this goes today. Yeah, so these eggs are really cool. They take the striped pattern, especially the diagonal stripes that you kind of see on the screen every now and then, go pretty quickly. You can paint those pretty quickly. The one that took the longest, I did one where I just last year painted random scales. I did 4 metallic colors and just kind of randomly scattered them around. And that took a long time, I guess, mainly just, I don't know, the number of the colors, having to go around, get it to look right. I did one that looked like a flame. That one was pretty easy. There, see the one on the left? Yeah, I thought that one came out pretty well. The one on the right with the random colors, that took a while. The striped one goes pretty quickly. I'm going to paint the pink, purple, and azure one in that stripe pattern. I haven't done a horizontal stripe yet, so this is my first horizontal stripe, and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to take my glasses off for my nearsightedness. I'm going to paint the whole top of this copper down to here. The first stripe is not a stripe, but the top of the egg. Because it was 3D printed at the top, it gets a little swirly here at the top. Not squirrely, but swirly. What are you doing this morning? I saw your stream about making tufts, and actually, you know, they look like they came out pretty well. There's more variation than the commercial ones, obviously, but that was kind of a feature. I thought that was pretty good. Making your own tuft material out of twine, though, that was a little bit extreme, rather than using the commercial grass. But like, as you said in the stream, you can make it any color you want, or texture as well. So that was pretty cool. Anyway, it was a fun thing to watch you do that. Okay, so the next row is going to be bronze and then gold, and so the next copper one is this one. This is a little bit like painting the accent blocks on the dungeon tiles. Nice thing about the first row is I don't have to be careful. I don't have to start being careful really until the third row. And then I want to be cautious enough so as to not have to do too much touch-up later. battered. Yeah, but one day. Well, it certainly took a lot more time than just picking them up at the store, right? Yeah. I think when we were saying, when you were talking about it last week, there are some things that just are better left to factories where they can make a whole lot of them very quickly. In baking, phyllo dough and puff pastry. Okay, you just buy those from a place that does that in a factory setting where they can get it right all the time, especially puff pastry. And things like your tufts probably fall into that category. There's a surprisingly lot of surface area on these eggs. It shows up on your monitor. The studio monitor that I look at here, so I can see whether that's on camera. Occasionally I actually look up to see if I'm still on camera or not. No. The metallic quality of the copper doesn't show up, so it just looks like kind of yellowish brown. But it's really very shiny. So it's a pretty decent copper. Hi, Who. Yeah, you joined in late. So you were berating me last week about starting like 1 minute late, not even a minute. It was 57 seconds. Here you show up late. Because you showed up late, I'm doing your egg second, not first. The first egg is metallic, horizontally striped metallic, but just for you, Who. You cut your own boxes? Wow, that's pretty good. You've invested in a laser cutter. We invested in anticipation of maybe selling some of this stuff in the future, in just buying ready-made boxes, and then someday we might have that. So yeah, the international shipping is interesting. Is it really expensive to send it? How do you get through customs? We sent some, I think it was silly. It was just something like Christmas candy canes to our son in Germany a couple of years ago, and made the mistake of accurately describing the contents and the cost, what we paid for it as the value. The thing got hung up at the customs office for like 2 weeks. And they made him come in and pay customs duty that was equal to probably 25%, like a quarter of the value of the candy canes. I don't know. International shipping and customs and all of that is kind of interesting. It's $30. That's, that's really not bad. You declare it as a gift. I'm not sure we did that or not. But when your stream is being watched by people all over the world, and they want the things that you're doing, then you end up with having to figure out how to do international shipping. So getting back to you, just for you, I'm going to be painting an egg in Who colors. Be doing pink, purple, and azure. You better stick around long enough to see that. Selected those specifically for you. Well, that's understood. Just as long as you know that you're doing a Who egg. So do you have to specify what's in it? Do you call them like miniatures or anything special? Okay. Well, that is what they are. So I guess that's quite, accurate. Dice and Dungeons has been giving thought to especially our dungeon sets. That I've been painting over the last forever. The Necromancer Lair and the Castle and the Tavern and things like that. Given thought to selling those, and knowing that people from all over the world might be watching the stream because that's how the internet works, started to think about shipping. So it's good to know that it's not hugely expensive. Ours might be a little heavier. I think yours, because the density of the plastic, but with the magnets in them. I hope that doesn't make any difference. You know, that there's little magnets. They run it through a magnetometer. They probably do. They'll probably x-ray the things, and then they'll see all these little ball magnets all over the place. Who knows what will happen then? Thought of that. But that's an important part of our dungeon sets, is the little ball magnets in the base that hold it all together. We may end up finding out how that happens if we ever ship one internationally. Okay, so that's the copper and horizontal stripes. And now I'm going to paint another color, either bronze or gold, and I can't remember which one I said I was going to do. It doesn't much matter really, because they all touch each other. So let me just pick a lighter one. I'm going to do gold and then bronze, just because. So I know what I'm doing with this one, as much as I ever know what I'm doing, in terms of colors and design. And I know what I'm doing with the next one in terms of colors and design. And then I have a third one, and if I get that far, and they're going pretty quickly, I very well might, I'll have to pick out some colors for that. I don't want to repeat what I've done before. I was kind of tempted to do the flame again. I like the way that came out. What happened to the camera? All sorts of adjustments on this thing, except for the one orientation that I want it to be. Okay, so I'm going to, this is good, and now I have to start paying a little more attention to what I'm doing, I guess, because I'm painting the second row. I can come down onto the row underneath, but I have to be a little more careful going on up to the row below. Just to mix things up, rotate it counterclockwise instead of clockwise. Why? I don't know. That's the way I started turning it. The accuracy of my painting on these scales isn't the greatest. You know, it's okay. I don't want it to look messy, but on the other hand, I don't need to get hyper compulsive. As long as the boundary lines between the colors are pretty even. I'm hoping this turns out. If it does, I might do another horizontal stripes. Kind of vertical swirly stripes. Done those a couple of times. They turned out pretty well. Sure. I haven't been there. Let's see, I did that blue, dark blue, light blue, and silver one. That's kind of a nice combination. And then I did one in what I call the Shiranoon colors. That's one of the factions in our Dungeons and Dragons campaign. This green, two colors, shades of green and silver. And that one was pretty good too. So, for those of you who celebrate Easter in any fashion that you do, and you do Easter eggs, this could be like an Easter egg. It is designed to be a dragon egg. That's why it's scaly like this. But, it seemed kind of an apropos time to do one of these as opposed to the minifigs. I'll be getting back to Submarine Wednesday, this Wednesday, and judging by the progress I made last week Wednesday, I think I'll be doing a fair amount of maybe assembly. I should be able, I got all the parts for the submarine sail. Isn't like a sailing ship sail. It's what they call the conning tower, I guess, is sometimes what it's called. The part that's upright on the top of the submarine that houses the periscopes and the snorkels and the radio antenna and things like that. We've got all of those painted and ready to go. The assembly is kind of a pain in the butt because all those pieces need to kind of hang together and then be glued in place more or less all at once. So be reading the directions carefully because they tell you the order in which things need to be assembled. And that actually makes a difference with this part of it. And then the torpedo room, I've got everything ready to go, like sort of. I got the torpedo racks and finished the bunk beds. That was kind of a challenge. Remember, I'm not sure I finished the ladder. I think I have to get out the felt tip pen and do the ladder yet. That leads up to the bunks. That's very close to being ready to be put together. And I won't be inserting it in. Well, I might. What I'll need to do is, because these things are glued in from one side, and the holes into which they are inserted are on the other side, and that kind of shows is that I'm going to be waiting for that cement to dry. The filling in those holes so they don't show on the other side and sanding them down a little bit, and then painting the walls of the bulkhead, the colors. There's actually 3 different colors that go on that bulkhead. One is for the head, the restroom, bathroom, and one is for the galley, I guess, and then one is just I think a ballast tank. Anyway, those need to be painted, and that needs to dry, and then that can be cemented into place. So I should make pretty good progress. The other thing I'll be doing is the next section of the submarine that gets painted and assembled is the mess hall and the galley. And there's just a lot of stuff in there. There's stoves that have detail like the burners and burner knobs and things. There are hams hanging. Figure out what ham colors, what colors I have that are most hammy. And tiny, tiny little tables and chairs, most of which were very poorly molded, so that there's just mold flashing all over the place that needs to be cleaned up. So I won't be doing very much painting on Submarine Wednesday this coming week. I'll be doing scraping of paint away from places that need to be glued and be cementing parts together. I think I might try is, if I can get what I need, is trying to get the clock and dial faces, and I don't have the ability to do that with a fine brush or even with a felt tip pen. My hand's just not, and combination of eye hand is not capable of pulling that off. So I'm going to try to find another way of doing it. Hi, thanks for joining in. Yeah, this is the metallic dragon egg. On pretty well. Horizontal striping of the colors of the scales on the egg, and when I'm done with this one, I'll be doing one with kind of I hadn't tried a horizontal striping pattern yet, and I thought I'd give it a go. So I'm using copper and gold, and I will be adding in brass. And it's not covering extremely well, but I'm not going to put a second coat on it. It actually gives it kind of a slightly worn look. Not really worn, but a bit more organic, maybe. Call it that. That's a good word. People say organic a lot nowadays. And these are printed on the 3D printer behind me, which are not running today, so it's a little quieter than usual. And they unscrew and open up. They're threaded, and you can see the seam there where I just got gold paint all over the copper because I wasn't watching what I was doing. That was pretty clever. To do copper touch-up at the end, and I hope that I remember that particular place because that one requires pretty major touching up. The copper paint in my palette has dried up. What little bit there was left, so I can't use that. Anyway, yeah, other than, this mess that I made here, reason of lack of attention. These eggs are pretty neat. Did some last year, and they show on the stream underneath me on the screen where they get the changing bits, one of which shows 3 eggs that I did last year. This seems to be a seasonal thing. It doesn't have to be, but it is. Thank you. That's pretty nice. So it's like just gilding things almost. Yeah, the metallics I really have come to like are actually made for military models, and that was my intent. I've got 40 models that I bought. After I retired, it was one of those, what am I going to do with my time? I'm going to have so much time on my hands now that I'm not spending 10 or 12 hours a day doing, job. So I started buying plastic models because that's what I did with my spare time when I was in grade school and high school, and thought, well, sure, why not? Why not relive a portion of my younger days? And not only that, but that's kind of a thing that old guys do anyway, right? Is models. I actually did more of that when I was working. Did radio-controlled airplanes. I had somehow managed to find time to do that. That was a lot of fun. As I was doing that, even at that time, which was quite some time ago, I was considered to be an elder flyer. People looked at me with sympathy as I was unable to land the plane and into the wind one day. Fortunately, the field we were flying at was it had a grass runway. It wasn't like a lot of flying clubs will have paved runways and stuff. This was a field. I mean, literally just a field, and there was a strip of it that was mown down to be the runway, and the rest of it was just very tall, weedy grass. Well, the very tall, weedy grass is quite soft, and so I just landed in that at a slow speed, and it caught the plane, and nothing was damaged, so that worked well. Anyway, yeah, I used to do that. But the story that I was starting to mutter about is that I started buying all of these models. So I've got some, and I wanted to do 1/48th scale instead of 1/72nd scale, mainly airplanes, okay? You can get pretty decent 1/48th scale models of almost everything, but not the bigger ones. I found a B-29, that's the largest. Well, that and the SR-71s, which are surprisingly similar in size. Okay, considering that one was a heavy bomber with a crew of something like 12 people, and the other one just has a camera and a pilot. Yeah, but I couldn't get like a B-52 or a B-36, especially the B-36. They don't make them that I found at the scale. Anyway, I'm just muttering about that. Where I was going with that is that I started one, an ME-262 Swallow. While I was still working. After I retired, I got absolutely nothing done on any of the models. Somehow, I ended up filling the time that I never had before with all sorts of other things, like gardening or doing renovations on the house and things like that. So I ended up, with this huge collection of mint in the box and the submarine that I've been working on. That's why I've been kind of liking the opportunity to do Submarine Wednesdays, is because that has been sitting around for the better part of 7 or 8 years, just waiting for the opportunity to work on it. Doing this stream of painting dungeon tiles and minifigs and things on behalf of Dice and Dungeons, which I will talk about in a bit, because we always have to do that on this stream. And one day, not too terribly long ago, we ran out of primed minifigs and dungeon tiles, and it was, well, can I work on my submarine? Sure, why not? Maybe somebody will watch it. They might like it. I don't know if people are liking Submarine Wednesdays or not, but I'm hoping I can continue them, because now that I've started, and I've started making some progress on it, I really would like to finish it. After I finish the submarine, at the rate I'm going, that might be a long time from now. Decide what I will do on Wednesdays instead of Submarine Wednesday. I've got everything. I mean, I've got a SR-71, which is pretty cool. I've got a B-29, which is a really rare model, I guess. I've never seen another one. I'm sure they're out there, I guess, but it, like the submarine, is actually a cutaway model. One side of the model drops down, and you can see the detail on the inside of the B-29. I might do that. I've got a wooden model. This one's pretty intriguing. I'm not sure I have the skill to actually build it, though. It was the Yacht America that won the first America's Cup, and it's one of those build it one plank at a time sailing ship models. Anyway, that's what I might be doing in the future. What I'm doing now, though, is I'm painting a dragon egg on behalf of Dice and Dungeons. Dice and Dungeons started out and continues as a group of relatives and friends playing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign in a world created by a dungeon mistress, Alexis. We started that, I was reminded, almost 2 years ago. Doesn't seem like it. But we have been playing continuously that since then, and that campaign is streamed with a live chat on Sundays at 2. You can also catch it on YouTube or as a podcast. Since we are talking all the time, and there is good music playing in the background, the podcast actually works. Okay, so there is the copper and the gold, and I managed to get gold on the copper in a couple of places, but after I paint the bronze, which is the last one, I'll probably have to do some touch-up on the copper anyway, so I will just plan on that. In our campaign, there is tons of talking, just constant chattering, babbling, making noises, usually digressing into all sorts of things. Not quite as much digressing as there is in this stream. I'm learning how to from one topic to the other in a kind of more or less non-random way. Sometimes actually returning to the thing I started with. But I was digressing again. What I was talking about was Dice and Dungeons and how we started out and continue as a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. And as we got going, bought a 3D printer and said, well, let's not play solely on this, 1x1 plastic grid. Thank you. Thanks for joining in, old Brogger. I really appreciate your support. Say hi to your friend, and I hope you had a happy Easter as well. So yes, that campaign goes on Sundays. But we got a 3D printer and started printing dungeon tiles and experimented with them and painted them and made the whole stream visually a little bit more interesting for people to view it. This might need to be thinned at some point, this bronze. Okay, well these rows now are going to go a little more slowly because I have to be careful of not just the boundary between the color on the top, but also the boundary on the bottom. So I'll be moving along at a very relaxed pace here to try to minimize the amount of touch-up I need to do later. We started 3D printing dungeon tiles, and sometime next week will actually be getting back to working on the sewer dungeon tile set. We have now a supply of walls and gates, and those go along with all the sewer floor tiles that I did 2 weeks ago. Be doing maybe next week, maybe like on Friday. Starting in again on the dungeon tiles. And it's kind of, this stream is kind of an eclectic mix, right? You get minifigs, you get Submarine Wednesday, you get dungeon tiles, you get your egg special today. This is the egg special day. I don't mind the slowing down pace here now of getting this done. It's not quite as challenging as the minifigs, but it's also, it's not as quick and easy as the dungeon tiles. But I don't want to make a mess of this. This row will give us an opportunity to see how the bronze works with the copper and the gold. It's still too wet to tell on this side, but it'll come around and then it'll dry and let's see how it looks. I think it's an okay color combination. Better be, it's one of those things where if it doesn't work, well, then we have an egg that people don't like, because I'm not going to repaint it. It's going to be grumpy about it that way. It will be what it will be. After I'm done with this color, I'll be doing some touch-up with the copper. Some of it because I got the bronze paint where I didn't want it, but most of it is because when I was slopping on the gold paint, managed to get it onto the copper in a couple of places when I was being inattentive. Anyway, yeah. Dice and Dungeons. Dungeons and Dragons campaign. 3D models. Dungeon tiles. And relaxing painting. And all of those who are watching this either as a stream or maybe later on YouTube, if you can, invited to become a subscriber, certainly a follower and a subscriber. You don't even have to wait for Submarine. You don't even have to wait for Submarine Wednesday to become a subscriber. It's actually allowed. People are allowed to become a subscriber on days other than Submarine Wednesday. If you really want to help out, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/diceanddungeons. If you want to support what we're doing, that would be hugely appreciated. Feel free to let the people you know share this with them and encourage them to become a follower and a subscriber too. This is moving along okay. I never did the flip today, did I? I had already begun painting and didn't stop. And so sometime after I'm done with this egg, do I got time? It's only been an hour in. Yep, I'll finish this before break and we will do our flips then. My apologies to especially to who flip delinquency. Usually one of those things that we do before the painting starts. But I'm going to blame who for that because who came on late. Happening here is that the paint is starting to gum up in the palette. Wasting some of it. It's getting a skin on the top. And I'll have to squeeze out a little. It's only like a couple of drops, but anyway, I hate to waste paint, even if it's a couple of drops. So that's how these colors work out. I think that's looking pretty good. I kind of like this horizontal stripe thing. It's a little, it's a lot slower than painting the diagonal stripes. I remember those going pretty fast when I did them last year. It's not too bad. You get to watch me paint little square scales. Just a drop of thinner in there. I'm going to try that. It's not going to hurt. And if it gets too thin and it's unusable anyway. There might be some pretty cool things in the Patreon. There might be like Patreon exclusives. Patreon exclusive videos of warm-up sessions of the D&D characters. Well, certainly thinner. We'll see how it spreads. But yes, you get exclusives and at different tiers. And I keep reminding myself that's not tiers like in sadness or happiness, but like in levels, different levels of Patreon support. You get even more stuff in like interactions, influence over the campaign and stuff, all sorts of cool things. So yes, have to be a little bit commercial in these streams. Please, if you can, become a follower, become a subscriber, and share with the people you know, because we really appreciate the viewer support. Okay, so there's this row of really big scales down here in the middle. I'm discovering right now is I haven't drank enough of my coffee and I didn't eat any breakfast. Ooh, maybe I'll be lucky. Maybe I'll just faint. That would be something. Wouldn't that be cool? Just faint right here. Back of Patricia. Low blood sugar. No, that wouldn't. Sorry, I shouldn't even talk about that. Anyway, yeah, sometimes I get going on this and then remember things, and multitask is somewhat limited compared to what it used to be. And one of the things I'll sometimes forget is to eat or drink. It's like, okay, there's one more thing to do and one more thing to do and one more thing to do. And I don't really want to take like 45 minutes or something to make a lunch or whatever. Anyway, I don't need to talk too much about that. I'm just explaining what happened. What happened is my coffee is just sitting there and I didn't drink any. This paint thinned out nicely, but it's not covering quite as well. I have to make sure I cover. You look at these eggs and start painting them, you realize just how many scales there are. Anyway, this is, except for this mess I made here, this is getting close to being done. And from a respectful distance, It looks pretty good. If you get up close, you can see that there are spots that aren't covered. Wow, that gold paint is still wet. Bronze. I managed to stick my finger in the bronze paint somewhere. Yeah. I'm going to just be quiet for a little while because I can't think of anything else to digress to or babble about. And hopefully the music is playing and you can just listen to that for a bit as I continue to paint the bronze scales. This dragon egg. Okay, so it's just coming along. I'm almost done with this row. I've got one here, and I'm way at the very, very bottom of the egg. And what I'll probably have to do, the top is going to be dry by then. And so I'll probably have to actually pop this off of the holder so I can get that bottom row of scales, which is kind of buried in the sticky tack right now. Do that before I do the copper touch-up because well, we'll see. Depends on if there's paint in the palette left or not. If I have to get all fresh paint out again anyway, then I will do it in a different order. Almost gone. Right about now, it's become customary to begin talking about 1960s TV cartoons or other antique television things. Some of which were kind of obscure, many of which were kind of side features of the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. We had the opportunity over the last several streams to talk about Rocky and Bullwinkle and how Boris Badenoff and Natasha Patel were definitely not Russian. Okay, that certainly couldn't have been the case back then, and how Gidney and Floyd came from the moon and they needed mooseberries. So what was that about? Haven't much chat. 18,000 seconds. Deleted by a moderator. And then there was a Wisebot timeout. Oh, I see. Okay. Every once in a while that happens, is that there'll be a bot that kind of tunes in and tries to mess things up or wants to say something really obnoxious and awful in chat. It hasn't been happening very often. When we first started streaming, it seemed to occur sometimes even multiple times during a stream, and I haven't had one of those, I think now in several weeks. So something seems to be working in terms of the protection of the stream and our legitimate viewers and listeners. But unfortunately, there are people out there who think that it's just great fun being the equivalent of an immature little bully boy, bully girl, bully person. Oh yeah, let's just make fun of this. Let's just screw it up. Why? Because we can. And those people are just sort of sad. All they've got going in their life is taking things away from other people. It means that they have much of their own. That there are other people who create programs that can help catch and filter that out. But this is relaxing painting with dice and dungeons, and we just don't go for naughtiness. Yeah, so about as far as we've gone in terms of naughtiness so far is talking about gooseberry bushes. Because as a kid, I didn't know that was anything other than mooseberries, Rocky and Bullwinkle, so moose. It's in Minnesota, mooseberries. Not knowing that mooseberries were moose dropping, so that was supposed to be a poop joke. 1960s child-appropriate poop joke. Anyway, yes, there was a great deal of action around that because Boris and Natasha were attempting to get the rocket fuel as well, because it was the most powerful rocket fuel available at that time on cartoons. Gitney and Floyd were moon men. They kind of became invisible and became revisible. That was one of their powers. They had a scrooch gun. I don't know if that was a joke that went over my head when I was a kid or not. If it is, it's going over my head now too. Still, but they had a scrooch gun that scrooched you. And if I remember, being scrooched was pretty much you were just frozen for a period of time. It was non-lethal damage. Our Dungeons and Dragons campaign character Zoria Ansul, the Changeling Druid, is very much in favor of non-lethality. So for most of our battles, when we have them, we attempt to disable it rather than destroy those attacking us. If you're injured, Zoria makes an effort to heal them, seeing her medicine skill. Anyway, that seems to be that's what we try to do, and I'm saying that as a digression because the scrooch gun was also non-lethal, and since it was a kids' cartoon show, that's something that was actually pretty important. It's refusing to hold. Doesn't need to hold much longer. Just 2 more scales. Come off while I do the very, very bottom row. One thing I am going to do, given the consistency of this paint, is I'm going to put a little bit of a thinner into the paint bottle if I remember to do that. I can do that because it does need to be thinned down a little bit. If you like Dungeons and Dragons and you would like a wholesome experience, kind of like a PG-13 rated Dungeons and Dragons campaign, you should go out of your way to catch our campaign, Dice and Dungeons campaign, which is on Twitch with a live chat on Sundays at 2. We do that 3 Sundays a month, and it's also available on YouTube and as a podcast. So instead, it works as a podcast because somebody's always talking. And how we manage that, like what feels, doesn't feel like, I think is, each session runs maybe 3 hours or so. We managed to fill the time with incredibly witty conversation, sometimes very bad puns. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. So if you're at all interested in that, I think you'll find it entertaining and refreshing. So please join us on Sundays at 2 or on YouTube or podcasts anytime. Dice and Dungeons cadre, family, whatever, group of people. Half a drop of this. So this is really close to being done. I just need to finish the bottom here, and then I need to get the copper paint back out again and do some touch up on some areas where I was a little exuberant in my application of especially the gold paint. I shouldn't say exuberant, inattentive, not careful, sloppy. Those are much more accurate. I managed to get the paint on spots where I very much didn't want it. Okay. Actually, this turned out really pretty well. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, the metallic shows up pretty well on the monitor here, so it must for you as well. But the horizontal striping, I wasn't sure how that pattern would work because I hadn't done it before. I think that came out okay. So I need just a little bit of this copper. I'm not even going to bother mixing it because it's the tiniest little drop. Touch up. Made a mess earlier. Find them because they were pretty messy. Yep. This whole row. So let me just look around and quickly do a few little other touches. Just those major spots there where I had gotten the paint wrong. Yeah, so I'm going to declare this complete. That's our copper, gold, and bronze, and stick my fingers in it and knock things over, not being very careful. Dragon egg. I think it looks adequate. That's what we're going for here, is adequate. Kind of nice and shiny, the colors are good. I'm going to set that aside. I'm finding a side here. Sorry, it's just, let's just say that there's a lot of stuff on the work surface. And what I'm going to do here is put a little bit of thinner in the bronze paint because it is too thick. Okay. Making an effort to actually put things away where they belong instead of just dropping them somewhere. These three are done. I'm going to get started now on Nine's special egg. I hope Nines appreciates this. I'll be doing this in the vertical stripe, you know, sweeping across like that. And the colors are pink, gotta get pink, purple, and azure. I only have one pink, so I had to mix it with some other colors, but I think that these could meet with your approval, right, Who? This combination. And I think because this is for 9s, I'm going to even put the pink paint on first. But let me show off these eggs again, if anybody has just recently joined in and hasn't gotten the background. These are like dragon eggs, and they're printed on the 3D printers back there. And their feature is that they have threads, they're threaded, and you can put little treats in the eggs, or surprises, or whatever. Anything that would fit in there, other than probably liquids, because these, unless you put a gasket around here somehow, like around here, are not a watertight seal, liquid tight. So there. I painted some of these before. If you're watching the stream underneath me, where it's now showing our different social media links. And the crypt and so on. Somewhere in that cycle of things, you actually see some eggs that I did last year. And I'm going to be using the same pattern of doing vertical swirly stripes on this egg as I did on the blue and silver one. It's Monday and it's still morning. Pink paint. Oh, totally forgot. I keep forgetting. I haven't done a flip yet. I flipped these before. They're pretty good for flipping. I'll flip them again. These are single-use brushes that are kind of like designed for I use these when I did radio-controlled airplanes. There are parts of it, like where the fuel tank is, where you want it very much protected, not just waterproof, but fuel-proof. And you get fiberglass rosin. Not the fiberglass like mat or anything, but just the rosin that holds it together. And you can't ever clean up after that. So you use these single-use brushes to brush it on, and it waterproofs it. We've used these with some success with some of our washes where we want a certain texture. Or if you want it speckled, it's really good for that because the bristles are just all over the place, and you can get paint on the top of that and do that and get a real speckled effect. Okay, here, let me just get this out before the bristles all bend and become worthless. I've done that, did that last time I was painting, especially with a little detail brush, the fine detail brushes. I put it in there and started doing something else, and the bristles all bent and I had to straighten them out. Let's get this pink paint going. Wavy effect. I know that some people like to see that. Here we go. Cameras, all sorts of weird angles. There's, oh my, it looks like there's a knob on here that should, like, once you got it where you want it, it should tighten it. But anyway is my way of saying, yeah, I can't get it fixed now. Maybe I'll let somebody else work on it later, or not. Pink paint. Let's get some pink in here. We'll see how the consistency of this paint holds up. whether it needs to be thinned out or not. But the most important thing is to begin applying it to this egg. And I'm just going to start at one of these rows. Here's one. This is a row. As you can see, this is definitely pink. It is there is no subtlety about this paint. So this will almost certainly be the other two colors. That, I mean, the purple is very purple. There won't be any disguising that either. But I could have gone with like a red, but I think that would just distract from the pinkness that is the primary point of this particular egg. I'm intentionally getting it onto the next one. When I discovered in painting these that I paint down onto the next one, and I can paint up to it and then up to it, and it's only that I only need to be super careful with the last one, the third color. The first two can go on really quite quickly, and then I have to be careful with the third color so as not to get it onto the other two, whereas here that's kind of the point. So these first two colors go pretty quickly, and then the third color takes a while longer, and then I have to go back to the first color for touching up. But there is, without any doubt, pink. Very, very pink. Okay, so I skipped two. Purple, azure, pink. Oh, we could be using a little larger brush on this, at least for the first two colors. These sort of vertical swirly stripes go much more quickly than the horizontal ones. Although the horizontal stripes, I'll show you that again. That looks really, I really like that. I think the third egg, assuming I get to it yet during this stream, I'm going to do it horizontal stripes again. I'm just not sure what colors I'm going to use. Okay, I am going to use a larger brush here, especially for the first two colors. Not a much bigger brush, it's just, it'll hold a little more paint and spread it a little more quickly. So what we're going to discover, as I discovered this when I painted these last time, is that when you use three colors, there will be one of these rows or stripes left over. That is to say, it'll be like pink, purple, azure, pink, purple, azure, pink, purple, azure, and then there'll be a gap. And what I've done in the past is I've just painted that flat black, and that actually works pretty well. The flat black pretty much just disappears amongst the other colors, and so I know that will happen. The design of the egg hasn't changed. knowing that that will happen. When I get to that point, I'll just paint that last one, that flat black color, and that will be that. Yeah, just save that for the end. Okay, I'm just this is good. I can just sort of slop paint on here. Not even, I'm just slop and paint. Yep. Skip 2 and do the next pink one. It's almost like, okay, I need to just being less sloppy. It was like I'm starting to be sloppy just for the sake of being sloppy here. That's kind of pointless. Yeah. So these eggs get printed back there, and they, as I showed you before, they're really cool because they have threads, and so they unscrew. You can put things in them. And they're not technically Easter eggs, they're technically dragon eggs. But, you know, it's kind of the theme for it is. Yeah, so you'll see in a second after I do this one. See, there's like 2 in between for the other 2 colors. And as I'm doing this, you can see that there's 3. So one of those 3 will end up being painted flat black. That's the convention I've been using on the 2 that I've done in this pattern before. Because of the number. Of swirly stripes. And the way this works is that because these paints tend to dry pretty fast, is that by the time I get around to the finishing these, the first one is dry enough to paint over. At least that's the plan. When I've done some of these in the past, the tricky part is deciding how far up each color should go. What do you want to do with the tippy top here? I want to do a fair amount of pinkness because this is Ooh Special Egg. Make the very, very top of it pink. There we go. And we'll paint the other colors up to it. So it's still a little tacky. Yeah, with these colors, it's going to be a lot tacky. Just quickly go around, make sure it's covered. And I'm going to let this set for just a couple of minutes. Because this very first one is pretty well set, but some of the others are not. And I don't want the paints to go running into each other. But, yeah. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I'll be able to use this bigger brush on the next color as well. I'm curious about 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. If I did 4 colors, it should, 16, you know. Yeah, I could do 4 colors and then I wouldn't have an extra one at the end. I'm going to wait for that to dry. And while I'm doing that, I have a cup of coffee, another sip of coffee. I'm going to look at my color charts here. And I'm looking for where I've got like 4 different colors. The blues and greens. You know, like these 4 right here. I think that would actually be a pretty good combination. Blue, green, emerald, turquoise, and azure again. But even like the flat blue, the one that's right there. I think these 4 would actually look really pretty nice together. This is our highly sophisticated color chart. Is since you can't tell when you look at the paint in the bottle or the bottle cap what color it's actually going to be, really. I splotch it on a piece of paper and write down the name of it. That's especially important because otherwise I would have no clue. Some of these browns and reds look pretty good too, but I'm just liking that. I'm just going to pick those 4 colors if I can find them. Let's do purple next. So I was thinking of doing the horizontal stripe effect again because that looks pretty good, you know. But we can always make more of these eggs. This swirly effect also looks really good, and I can get 4 colors in. And that way. Maybe over break I'll ask an opinion from our producers. Or executive, not producers, executive producers. The other members of Dyson Dungeons, how they would like the last egg painted. The decision on this one was made very early on yesterday when it was, why don't you paint eggs? We've got some. They haven't been painted. They've just been setting around. So it was, sure, why not? That's sort of apropos, to use a fancy word, to just paint eggs. And so it was just for who's watcher and moderator of this channel decided it would be pink as the primary color, and then it was just a matter of finding some colors that would complement it. This purple is very complementary. You can almost hear this purple saying, wow, pink, you look really fine there on the egg, you know, be complementary. And then what about the third color? Well, this azure color is just this really nice light blue. It isn't anything that's going to steal the thunder away from the other colors. So I've used it on the minifigs and then washed over it, and it looks pretty nice. So I think it'll look good as the third color, along with the pink and the purple. I'm going to get this purple on before the break. And then I want this one to definitely dry before I do the azure, because I have to be careful with the azure because it's bounded on both sides by already painted surfaces. Okay, I mean, here I can get it down onto the next one and that'll get covered over by the azure, just like a pink is being covered over by the purple. Just let you know that I'll be more relaxed after the break than before the break. So get the purple on, and then there will be a break, and then I'll come back and paint the azure, and we'll see. Maybe I'll see what time it is after I get the purple done. I might paint the flat black extra stripe before the break just to get that finished. We'll see what time it is. Purple is done. Does anybody really know what time it is? And there's more lyrics to that. And there's another song about time from 60s or 70s. There's the ticking in the background, and the singers are yelling out time, time, tick, tick, and it keeps slowing down until it gets slow enough that they're bored with it, I guess, and then they go. And then the tempo picks up again. If you're listening to this, I'm not going to go into it, but you can begin to recall all the songs that you've ever heard about time. I stopped listening to contemporary music decades ago, I think. My knowledge of songs was always very limited. I never was very good at remembering titles of songs and exceptionally bad at remembering the people who did them. Names. So, pretty good at, used to be at least, at trivia. Not when it comes to music. But I'm sure that there are like hundreds of songs, or dozens at least, or many. There is some number of songs about time. Which has lyrics that go, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care about time, or something like that? I can't imagine why we all have time enough to, I think, cry or die, or something that rhymes with why. That was a pretty pointless ramble, wasn't it? Talk about the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, why not? Of course, it was Rocky and Bullwinkle and Boris Badenov and Gidney and Floyd and all of their adventures and intrigue and things, but there were also the sideshows. That is, there were always 2 short episodes of Rocky and Bullwinkle during the half-hour show. I think it was a half hour. Anyway, they were really short bits. But in between the 2 episodes of Rocky and Bullwinkle, which were ongoing, there were big, long story arcs that weren't weren't just the 2 episodes, but went on for weeks and weeks. We had Peabody's Fractured History. That was always fun with Mr. Peabody and his boy Sherman. Peabody was a dog. Used the Wayback Machine to travel back in time to tell the true story. Right, true, right? It was Fractured History. It was supposed to be satire. Even as children, we knew that that wasn't the real history. Unlike now, where we can't tell the difference between satire and reality. Back then, we knew that Peabody's improbable history of fractured history wasn't the true story. And they'd use the Wayback Machine. It was always way back. It would go back in time. I don't remember that they ever used the Wayback Machine to go forward. Maybe it couldn't. That's why it was called Wayback. Mr. Peabody took his boy Sherman and revisited really important periods of history and told their story in a satiric fashion. And I can't remember any of them, you'd have to watch, but every single episode ended with like an aphorism or phrase or something like that, you know, like a stitch in time saves 9 or something. But it would be really based upon what happened during history. There would be this horrible pun, just like a reducing pun at the end of each one. And you knew it was coming, and oftentimes you could even guess what it was going to be, but we were never spared. It always happened. The episodes of those were really pretty decent. Got 10 minutes left, so either I can take a break early or I can go ahead and paint the flat black stripe. And I think what I'm going to do is maybe take the chance of starting my break later, use this opportunity to paint the black stripe. And if I recall, one is glossy, one is flat. Yes, this is the good black. Nice opaque, very flat black. And that's going to go here, right next to the pink, between the pink and the azure. I can do that now because the pink is very dry and the purple isn't, and I need to let the purple dry off before I can paint the azure. So this is a good time to do this. It'll fill the 10 minutes between now and our standard break time, and if it goes a little longer, well, that's okay too. Anyway, that was one of the that they showed between the episodes of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Another one that was frequently shown was Dudley Do-Right of the Mounties, and that was always quite entertaining. Looking back at it, I don't know, I won't get into it too much. Let's just say that if you watch some of the episodes, you'll see why maybe you would think that it was a little bit not quite right. Not that we would have noticed when we were kids, but thinking it was funny. But anyway, that was always fun. Dudley Do-Right was... Oh, wow. That was just really clumsy. I'll probably have to do some pink touch-up later anyway, but I wasn't intending to get the black paint smudged quite so much. But Dudley Do-Right was always rescuing people kind of by accident. It always turned out just fine. Okay, well, for some reason, a brush in hand. Good line here. Anyway, I'm just going to finish painting up along the edge here. It's like there's a bristle out of place or something. I'm not sure what it is. It's really a little bit annoying as I'm attempting to paint the underside of the scale here. There, yes, just rotated the brush 180 degrees, and it's better. I guess there's like a little curve in it or something. Anyway, yeah, those are the things that that were shown on Rocky and Bullwinkle. There was Peabody's Improbable History and Dudley Do-Right. That's going to be azure, so there isn't much of this at the top, which is fine. It's not a primary color that we want to be showing off particularly. Yeah, so I'm going to have to put some little pink back on here at this one scale, just went a little too far as I was painting. And you can see as it dries, there's some spots that are drying already, how nice and flat the black is. Just really inobtrusive, which is what we're aiming for there. And I can't do I'm not going to do the pink touch up until after I'm done with the azure, because it's likely that I'll get a little azure paint onto the pink, and I'll have to do that anyway. There. So what I'm going to be doing now is taking a little bit longer break than maybe usual, but I will be back no later than 12:30. I can't promise that. I'll be back around 12:30ish, give or take. And I'll be finishing up the Nine's Egg here. The last stripe will be azure, and I think they'll look good with all of that. I'll do some pink touch-up. and then paint this last one. And what I'm going to do with this last one is I think I'm still going to go with this horizontal swirly thing rather than vertical swirly look rather than the horizontal look. Although that's pretty nice. Okay, maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll go with this look again, because it's pretty, I like that. It's a little harder to paint, but I could use these three colors. I think they're going to look really good together. The blue, green, the emerald, and the turquoise. And I'll pull those paints out. During break, so that you don't have to watch me fiddling around over there trying to find them. All right. Well, thanks for watching so far. The first segment of Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons Monday edition, with the camera that just keeps moving around and rotating in weird ways and stuff. I hope that's not too disorienting. Here, put it there. Maybe I'll fiddle with that in between. We're going to finish this egg. When I get back, do some pink touch-up, and then pull out the three colors and do the horizontal striping motif with blues and blue-greens. This one is gold, copper, and bronze. And yeah, looks okay. But I've done two others with this sort of vertical stripy thing already, and I guess I don't need to do yet a fourth one when I have only done one of the other kind. All right, enough babbling about taking a break. I am going to take a break, and we'll see you back here around 12:30-ish. Well, as promised, that took a little longer than I thought it would. You know how nothing happens and then everything happens all at once? I think I've said that before. Well, that's what happened. And there were a couple of phone calls I needed to take, and incoming calls that just happened to happen during break. I guess that's convenient. At least they happened during break, so I could address them. Anyway, that's the kind of thing that goes on. Oh, I'm looking at... I was about to put the azure paint on, but there is this spot right there at the top of the egg where it shows, where I just don't like the line at all. So I'm going to deal with that very quickly. There, that's all it was. But yeah, that had to be fixed. A little bit of digression. There's always digressions. Sometimes in the painting, more frequently in the monologue. Anyway, thank you for sticking with us or rejoining, coming back in. I'm going to be finishing up. Oh, look at this. Why is that? Why did that black not cover? I don't know. It's very disappointing that I painted that black on there before the break, and there's spots all over it, so I'm going to have to touch that up before this egg is done as well. But now I'm going to move along kind of swiftly because I want to finish this egg, and I want to get started and hopefully finish the other egg as well. The third egg. But things are as they are. And this R is... Anyway, yeah. Break took longer than I wanted it to. I hope this color works. pink and the purple go really well together. On the color chart, it looked like the azure should be okay. It definitely is a kind of a contrasty color, though. To do this, I'll, get the line here, and then I have to flip it over and do the bottom part because I can't get it from this direction. I'm almost tempted to, instead of like completing one of these stripes, I'm almost tempted to paint it like 85% of the way like this, and doing that on all of them, and then flipping it over and painting this edge. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go all the way around and paint this side and most of the way to the edge, and then I'm going to flip it over and then do all of them on the other side all at once rather than flipping it back and forth. And I think that'll be quicker. We're looking at some efficiency here as I'm trying to finish this egg, knowing that I need to do, it's just a few spots, but I need to do touch up on that black stripe, the one that's supposed to not be seen. The extra one, because there's 16, that doesn't divide by 3 evenly. That painting the horizontal stripes based on the first one I did today takes a little longer than painting these. These go really pretty quickly, even knowing I need to go back and paint this one in the other direction and then probably do some pink touch-up. Painting these vertical swirly stripes, it's kind of quick compared to the other patterns. The only other one that's faster is the like the fire egg that you might see in the stream. The red, yellow, and orange one. There's just the 3 colors in fairly large blocks. That one can go pretty quickly because I could use a large brush and paint big chunks of it, other than, just these boundary areas. Doing this is moving along pretty fast. The other side is going to be a little slower because I'll be painting down onto an already painted surface. Yeah, don't push it back down onto the holder by putting your finger into the wet paint. If you watch this with any regularity, you'll have learned by now that I'm not a highly skilled or professional painter. Certainly not compared to many people who are doing painting streams. I try to be relaxing because this is relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons, but it's very, very far from a how-to show. I mean, you can watch, there are many streams you can watch, like old Brogger, who watches us with some regularity. If you watch their stream, you'll learn things. You'll learn techniques and supplies and methods and things. If you watch this with any regularity, you learn some things too, but it's not like this is how you do it. You'll learn things like, if you're going to be doing something, don't do it the way I just did it. So in some ways it's an instructional show, but it's, I don't know. I don't know if these will show up or not. I'm kind of guessing not. But this is your special Who egg. What do you think? Do you like the colors? Maybe. Maybe we can make one for you. I mean, to like actually keep or something. But I thought these are going together. The blue actually looks okay on it. Now that I'm looking at it, it's not bad. But yeah, in some ways, this is a how-to inverse show. It's like if you want to know how to do something, don't do what I just did. That doesn't necessarily tell you what to do instead, but it does give you guidance about what to avoid. And I have to say that this show, from time to time, fairly frequently, carries that kind of negative lesson. Yes, I'm like one of those folk artists, that if you're in the art world, it's self-taught artists, not folk art, but outsider art, that kind of thing. I guess I'm kind of like that. I am totally self-taught in that I have learned no techniques. When I was a kid, I thought I could do some art, and I got a learn to draw kit for my birthday once. I even remember the name of the manufacturer is John Nagy. I have no idea who that is or why, but John Nagy had a learn to draw kit, and it came with like 3 charcoals, that kind of thing, and a pencil and some paper. So it was everything you needed to do to get your hands all full of charcoal dust. 3 different colors of gray, dark, medium, and light. They were all gray. So we were definitely not learning to draw in color. We were learning to draw in black and white, or shades of gray anyway. So I got that kit, and I picked out one of the drawings, and I started it and finished it. And what I learned, the thing I learned was that I couldn't draw. What I learned at that point with the Learn to Draw kit is that I had no talent. Not even enough talent to do a decent John Nagy Learn to Draw drawing. The whole technique didn't really kind of make sense to me. I couldn't get the charcoal where I wanted it to. It rubbed off on everything and got messy. It was probably just as well that I got that kit and learned that when I was learning to draw, that what I learned was that I couldn't draw, that I had no talent. this was like in grade school, right? I don't remember when in grade school, but probably like 5th or 6th grade or something. So this isn't a lamentation. That's not what the point is. The point is that that's not what this is. This show can't be that, because I can't show you how to do things when I can't do them myself. But what I can do is I can talk about 1960s cartoons. I can do an adequate job of spreading paint on things. This paint, I can tell when the paint is too viscous to be easily used, like this is right now. This is another one of those where I probably need to just put a tiny drop of thinner in the paint and then put some in the bottle later. Paint in the well, and then I'll thin. If I need to get more out of the bottle, I will do that after I thin it. But some of these paints they get too thick to be able to use. So anyway, when you're joining in on relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons, what you're getting is, oh my. I'm not sure what's going on there, but as the thinner is thinning things, it made it all swirly looking. It will look okay. What you're getting is some old guy who is basically self-taught with minimal skills, painting things and talking about Dice and Dungeons and 1960s cartoons. Yes. Oh, yeah. See, many topics. Submarines also. You get to watch me do things that I did poorly as an 11-year-old, doing somewhat only slightly less poorly now as someone in an we'll just say later demographic, okay? And that's what the submarine is. But these eggs are, anyway, these eggs are really cool. And they're not terribly hard to paint. And I'm not making much of a mess of them. The camera keeps getting odder and odder angles as it rotates and it's thing there as I look up on it. I wanted it to be like that, but for some reason gravity hasn't been kind and it keeps moving. The other thing I get to do is I get to whine and complain about stuff like that. It's like, I don't know why that camera does that. There's an adjustment knob on it that should allow me to tighten it in a way so that once it's set, it doesn't move. But when I turn a knob, it's already turned as tight as it gets, and that's just the way the stand is. So, yeah, I get to do things like that. This is quite fun. But I get to paint the Nine's Egg, and then after that, I will be doing another one of the horizontal bands, which takes a little bit longer, but I think is a really cool effect. And I'll be doing that in various shades of blue. Well, this paint is working a lot better thinned, and it still covers just as well. So I'm definitely going to be thinning it in the bottle also. Oh, those were weird noises. You probably didn't hear that. Yeah, there's always the, and what was that noise? This is something I need to be worried about. But there isn't. Not the one. All right. All right, so that's what this looks like. And just give this a quick once over to make sure that it seems to have covered every place where it needs to be more or less covered. And then I'm going to do the touch-up on, I don't have to do any touch-up on the pink, it looks like. It actually looks pretty good, but I do need to do touch-up on the black because it didn't cover very well. And then I will have an hour left to get the other egg done, and hopefully I can do that in that amount of time. I've already picked out the colors. To do this black. It's just tiny spots. I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit here. To remember to thin this azure paint a little bit. I don't know if you can see them, but the black paint just didn't cover everywhere. Primer showing through. And sometimes that happens with some of these paints. This one needs to be thinned a little bit. Also, most of the paints seem to need a little bit of thinning. They're really, the consistency is really fine for like the dungeon tiles, but when you're painting details or semi-details like this, they show brush marks and they just don't spread as well. Okay, a little spot up here. There is, all of these eggs have this one spot where one of the scales kind of just is displaced a little bit. I noticed that when I painted them before. Okay, it looks shiny now, but this paint flattens nicely when it dries, so that'll be okay. So there's the pink, purple, and azure egg. And set that aside. Clean the brush. Got 3 wells, 2 wells, and 3 colors left. I'm going to thin this out. Together without getting the paper towel in the paint. Ha! Failed. Okay, these 3 colors are done. I will set them here I have splotches of paint everywhere. What is going on? Well, that's another thing, is if you're really good at painting, that shouldn't happen. Okay, this guy is going to be painted in this horizontal pattern like this. That's where I'm painting, except I'm going to be painting it in 3 shades of greenish bluish. And I'm going to put this one, start at the top like I did the other one. Start with this color and do every third one in this color and then paint down as I did before. You did, thank you. Yeah, this is kind of a... If I get an extender, I'll be able to run the cable all the way around the side, probably even all the way around where the painted rotisserie is, and get it out of the way. So these are nice colors. They're very pretty. I hope they look good together. We will see. I'm going to get this first color on. We'll be moving along. This is a really nice, bright, bluish green color. That's why it's called blue-green. The color tones down a little bit. It flattens out. It isn't quite as glossy as you see it here. But yeah. I should be able to get these first colors on pretty quickly, and then the third color, where it has boundaries with the other 2 colors, will take a little bit longer. See where the row is. To be honest, it's a little bit difficult to tell. With these little scales up at the top, where one row of scales is and where the next one is supposed to join in. I'm identifying it here, so I'm going to rotate it around this way because at least this way it's clear to me where the boundary is. I chose this color for the top because of the 3. I think I like this one best, so when you look at the egg from the top, it's the one you will see. I think I painted this down one row further than the other egg. Now that I'm looking at it, let me see. No, I guess not. I guess it's the same. No. It is the row.
Hopefully it'll match up when I get around to the end of it. Yay. Okay, that'll work now. The next row of scales is there. And that is what will be the next color, whichever one it is that I choose. It just looks asymmetric for some reason, but it does go evenly all the way around. Good, so we'll skip 1, skip 2, and then this is the next one that's painted this color. Search the ups and downs and ziggy-zaggies here. The cable extender should actually be here. It might be. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff on the workbench. Need some clues about where to look. Might be able to find it in time. Might be able to find it in time for Submarine Wednesday. If not, you'll need to still live with the cable. And this egg, for some reason, is just absolutely refusing to stick to the sticky tack. Hopefully that will hold it now. These first rows can go on real quickly because they get covered over around all of the edges. And then the second one has one boundary and one not boundary. And then the third one is slower because it's bounded on top and bottom. And so can't be done so carelessly. But I have limited time, and I really would like to finish this egg during this stream. So we are going to... I am going to paint quickly. At least through this one and half of the next. Yeah, because I know that each one will take about 50% longer than the one before. It is to say that the last color, the application of the last color of the three will take twice as long probably as this, which means I need to have nearly I need to finish this and the next color pretty much by half past. I think I got the first one done in an hour. I was going a little more slowly because I wasn't sure what I was doing. Me saying I don't know what I'm doing, huh? That's something new. Here. use a little bigger brush on this just to move it along. Especially these are very large scales, and the bigger brush will put more paint on it and apply it more evenly. I am pretty amazed at how much what proportion of the total time I have actually remained on camera today. I can't say that the camera placement is ideal because it keeps rotating at odd angles and moving slightly, but the painting at least has mainly been on camera. Squeeze out a little bit more. I might be able to use this brush for the next layer as well, as long as I'm kind of careful. I'm pushing it up to that boundary, but I can come down onto the next layer in most areas, not always, because sometimes they touch each other across layers, like that touches this. They like alternate rather than band. This is moving along at a decent pace. Excuse me. These seams, the studio is in a lower level and it's a little chilly. And usually before break, it doesn't bother me very much. But then as it goes along, I start getting a little bit cold and sniffly. I have this like down vest kind of thing. I should probably keep it here so that as it chills out, not that, oh yeah, that makes sense. This is relaxing painting. One should chill out, right? So maybe I shouldn't. That is, maybe I shouldn't keep a down vest here because we want to chill out. Yep, I really said that. I say those kinds of things here on relaxing painting. That's what makes it so relaxing. You just never know when you'll go, oh, I can't believe that you said that. It's the kind of thing that's what makes it so relaxing. It's the air of unpredictability and spontaneity that we have here. That's what I call it, as opposed to rambling. So yeah, a little sniffle, a little cough, cold damp air, filling out. I might start the next color with this brush. I'll just see how well I'll be able to control it. But it moves along at a good pace that might be antithetical to what I am attempting to do, which is to control the location of the paint. It's not such a big deal right now because I'm not trying to control it that carefully. Next color, bounding up against the next color. Yeah, I'll go with a smaller brush. Wow. I don't know how that happened. Let me take a real quick look around to make sure I haven't smudged it somehow. I've been holding it by the holder. Yep. So, once more this is really not really how to, but sometimes more often than not, how not to relaxing painting. Bit deeper cleaning. Oftentimes I need to clean those with an alcohol solvent. Let's do the emerald next. Thank you for the raid. Welcome. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. I hope that you like this. Thank you all for the raid. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for watching Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. And here I am painting dragon eggs. Well, I've painted 2 so far. Let me show them to you. I did this one first in all of these different colors. This is cool, huh? And what's really nice about these are printed on our 3D printer behind me. They have threads that allow you to open them up and put stuff in them. Yeah, Bob Ross. Thanks. The thing about, I don't mind the comparison so much if this is like Bob Ross before he passed. But you can put secrets, they could be secretly hidden things in the eggs. So I'm painting the 3rd egg here, and I'm hoping to finish it before the end of the stream. We'll see how that goes. The first color goes on quickly because I don't have to be careful. The second color needs to be slightly more careful, and then the 3rd color needs to be most careful so that I don't slop it all over the other colors, so that I don't have to do too much touch-up, which takes time. But yeah. I'm painting the 3rd. Oh, I didn't show you the 2nd. This is the one I did. Whoop, there it is. Yep, this one. I hope you find it relaxing, because that's right in the title. It's right in the title of what we do. It's Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. And I try to keep it as relaxed as possible by speaking slowly and softly about how I'm getting paint on my hands and making a mess of things, and how I wish I had more talent, and talking about 1960s cartoons and television. Mainly about cartoons lately. Had a lot of discussions about Rocky and Bullwinkle, Tom Terrific, Super Chicken. You get to hear about those kinds of things. And at the same time, I get to paint things like eggs and minifigs and dungeon tiles. And on Wednesdays, isn't Rocky and Bullwinkle amazing? Yeah. So there's not only Rocky and Bullwinkle, but Peabody and Sherman's Improbable History, and Dudley Do-Right on the Mounties. I mean, the side character shows are really almost just as good. Tom Terrific was a cartoon short. Usually they were very short. They were like the one of the viewers looked one up on YouTube, and the theme song, which I could recite to you, takes like the better part of a minute, and the entire cartoon was maybe 3.5 minutes. So there was the animators and the writers, especially the writers, didn't have to work very hard at coming up with something. Or maybe they did. When you've only got like 2.5 minutes to tell a story, you might have to be really very good at it, especially the editing part. It did keep the animation costs down, though. But Tom Terrific was on the Captain Kangaroo show. And his superpower was that he could turn into anything. There was never an explanation for the kind of transformation that he was able to do. Unlike some like Marvel superheroes where you get bitten by I think it's Marvel, I don't remember. I hope I didn't get it wrong. Like you get bitten by a radioactive spider or something, and that explains what happens. We have no idea why Tom Terrific was able to turn into anything and everything. But he did, and he had a companion. Everybody's got a sidekick. His was Mighty Manfred, the Wonder Dog, and Mighty Manfred basically was narcoleptic. Is that what you say it is? He slept all the time. I think that's narcolepsy. It doesn't sound right, but I think it is. But Super Chicken was really pretty bizarre. I think he really had any superpowers other than being kind of annoying. His superpowers, which he really didn't have, he got by drinking his super sauce, which his butler mixed up for him and served him in a martini glass. Which, I don't know. I guess that's, that was kind of a fun joke, I guess. Like when you're 9 or 10 years old back in the 1960s, having Super Chicken drink his super sauce out of a martini glass, probably, that's what everybody's parents did, right? That's what everybody did on every TV show, so it was probably pretty funny without us really knowing what was going on. You could get away with that kind of stuff back then. You can get away with a lot more now, but not quite the same way. There was George of the Jungle. His theme song was kind of like, a lot of modern music. It was just the same lyric repeated over and over again. It's George, Georgia of the Jungle, followed by George, Georgia of the Jungle. And I think that was... the catchphrase was then "friend to you and me," which means that whoever was writing that didn't have any real creativity other than being able to say George of the Jungle over and over again. George of the Jungle was actually pretty funny. It was loosely based on Tarzan. I don't know if it was loosely based. I guess it was a ripoff of Tarzan. And he talked like Tarzan did, like short sentences, not very many words. Things like, "Me, George of the Jungle, I help you out. You are puny, weak, big and strong," that kind of stuff. But it was filled with bad puns. That's what I remember. is there were just a whole lot of really bad puns in George of the Jungle. Quick Draw McGraw. It was a horse. Back in the day, you know, when that was a thing, you know, when Westerns were a thing and every Western had to end with a shooting and a killing. That was, I don't know, when you think about that, that was really pretty grotesque. Is that there were probably like a dozen different Westerns on. Rifleman. Daniel Boone, all of these guys made out to be very heroic. Gunsmoke. But I think with very rare exception, I can't think of any, but I'm sure there must have been some. It always ended with a killing. It was like, that's how your problem gets solved, whatever it was. Some lawman with a gun killed somebody. I wonder if that explains something in terms of the attitudes of older folks nowadays, is that we all grew up watching that. Just this sort of casual application of lethal street justice. Very weird when you think about it. But we watch that constantly. Something to think about. Fans of Cartoon Planet with Zorak Brackett Space Ghost know what it's like to have something to think about. Thank you for joining in and following. You're getting a sample of Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons, where the old guy paints relatively poorly. I mean, adequately, does adequate painting in a relaxing fashion while talking about various and sundry things that are pretty much hopefully not controversial, because we don't need that kind of thing, then it wouldn't be relaxing. But anyway, yeah, just thinking back at it, that was pretty brutal. When like 3 or 4 times a week you watched a Western, because everything was a Western then. I mean, there was scarcely anything else. Oh, okay, this is where... Can I touch this on top? Yeah. The very bottom layer is this green color. So I'm going to take it off of the holder so that I can paint the bottom, and then I'm going to stick it back on. Hopefully I'm not making a mess of all of the other colors while I'm doing this, so that I can paint the third color and get that done. Yeah. Let's just say this isn't a good idea, but this is another lesson in, just really don't do it this way. But yeah, if you're just joining in now, you really want to come back on Wednesday for Submarine Wednesday. Because although mostly what I do is paint things related to our Dungeons and Dragons campaign, minifigs and dungeon tiles, and I'll be getting back to dungeon tiles sometime relatively soon. I'm thinking probably even next week. On Wednesdays, I have been given permission by other members of the Dice and Dungeon crew to work on my 1960s vintage Renwall cutaway submarine. If you're not familiar with that, it is a Polaris, that's even before Poseidon, the very first atomic, not the first atomic submarine, but the first ballistic missile launching submarine. It was the George Washington launched Polaris missiles, and Renwall made a version of it that, on one side of it, folded down, and you could see the interior of the submarine. And the interior of the submarine, in some ways, was incredibly detailed, and in some ways, was definitely not detailed. It's like an impressionistic. You think that could happen? That's really up to the DM. It's not for me to say. But once it's done, that's possible. An underwater dungeon, just going through it would be kind of fun. Trying to find your way through the submarine. Yeah, but Submarine Wednesdays is when I am permitted to... Whoa, why did that not mix? This has happened before. I don't know if you can see it. It came out really dark. It's like the pigment didn't get mixed through. I even put one of those little metal mixing balls in here. Anyway, Submarine Wednesdays is when I'm working on the 1960s authentic vintage cutaway Polaris launching George Washington submarine model. And I've been making incredibly slow progress. But I hope on this Wednesday to complete the sail, which is where the periscopes and snorkels and radio antenna go on. That is to say, cement the pieces into place. They've already been painted. And to complete most of, if not all, of the forward torpedo room. There, that's better. That's the color it's supposed to be. I won't be able to finish it because, well, see how it goes. This is just really... considering that it's sitting on a holder like this. Oh, I've managed to get so much paint all over my hands. It defies explanation. I have no clue. Other than to say that that's the reality. Cleaning up is going to be a challenge, and I will need to get my hands all clean because I have an appointment this afternoon and I don't want to go to it with paint all over my fingers. So we'll see what kind of soap and solvent and scrubbing is necessary. It's acrylic, so it's, at least theoretically water washable. And oftentimes it is, but I think I've gotten more paint on my fingers painting this egg while it is being held on this holder as opposed to being held in my hand than doing like a minifig where I'm moving it around all the time. So those of you who are watching this, don't do this. Super train. I don't know that there's a model of a super train. After I'm done with the sub, which I hope will happen yet in this lifetime, I'm going to have to pick up the pace on what I'm doing with the submarine, although the next couple of sections of it are going to be really quite challenging. just to give you a preview, after I finish with the sail and the torpedo room, the next section is the galley and sleeping quarters, some of the crew bunks, and the galley and mess hall is this weird combination of incredible detail and impressionistic modeling. So like the tables are just these slabs, okay? They're just little slabs where they're supposed to be painted brown underneath and white on top because they have like tablecloths on them. I don't think so. That would just not be the case. So I'm going to have to decide whether I really want to paint the tabletops white or not, like the instructions suggest. But in the background is the galley, the kitchen, which is very tiny, and it's amazingly detailed. Like the stove, the model of the stove actually has like the little control knobs for the burners on it. And behind the stove, there are hams hanging on some hooks. I think, that's kind of amusing, but really? So what happens is that, it just takes a long time to paint if I do it at all somewhat semi-competently. When I was 11, when I did this thing the first time, it said paint the bases of the table brown and the top's white, and I had tester's enamel, and I just slapped paint on it, and that's what happened. And the stoves, it just said, well, paint them white. So the stoves and the cabinet, all that detail is just totally lost. In fact, when I look back at it, I don't even remember that the detail was there because it wasn't in the painting instructions and it wasn't anything I paid attention to. But now I'm seeing all that detail and I just can't let it go. So that's why some of these sections just take forever to do because of the detail that's put into the model. Others are laughably lack of detail. Now, you wouldn't be surprised to know that the reactor room, and they do a cutaway of the reactor even, right? Lacks any detail at all. I guess they didn't want to give away any nuclear secrets when they built this, when they created this model. And so the reactor is cut away, and what it is it's a coil inside of a cylinder, and that's, I guess, where the hot water is supposed to be or something. Anyway, if you join in on Submarine Wednesdays, you'll get to see this thing in progress. And usually I take the time at least once during each stream to show the box top so you can see what this whole thing is all about. Even if you only see me working on one small part of it at a time. But those of you who have become first-time followers and subscribers, thank you very much. Your support of Dice and Dungeons and of the whole concept of relaxing painting with historical commentary on television from the 60s is extremely welcomed, and we want to thank you. What are we doing here? Oh yeah, I'll be able to finish this. That's pretty amazing. It'll actually be able to accomplish what I was planning to accomplish on one of these streams. That's another feature of relaxing painting with Dice and Dungeons, is that there's the plan and then there's the reality. and you get to witness reality never quite matching up with the plan. I would say that that's not a feature of every stream, but it's certainly a common theme. That is, let's see how far we can get today. I think I can get this done, knowing from past experience that that's just wishful thinking. But today, it looks, and I don't want to speak too quickly, but it does look as though I will be able to finish this egg within the allotted time of ending around 2-ish. Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons appears on Twitch Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from pretty much 10 o'clock, and I have been on time lately. Actually, for quite a while now. Sometimes a little bit late, but almost always right around 10 until about 2. And lately, I've been going maybe just a few minutes longer because I wanted to get something finished right at the end. Necessary today. But yes, Dice and Dungeons presents Relaxing Painting from 10 until 2 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And what we'll be working on Wednesday is Submarine Wednesday, and then on Friday I'll be working on a minifig that I've been working on for a while. There's 2 of them. I should be able to finish one and get going on the other. Take us through the rest of the... There is a chance, let's say, the chance that a week from today, that either one of the other members, maybe Nicole, will present Relaxing Painting, or we might take a day off. Oh my. I just painted the microphone by not watching where the brush was going. Anyway, a week from today, either will be presented by another member of Dice and Dungeons, or we might skip it. I need to be away on Monday of next week. But this week I will be here for Submarine Wednesday, and I will be here for painting either dungeon tiles or finishing up a minifig on Friday. And no doubt be engaging in relaxing conversation about 1960s television. We might have to move away from cartoons. There really weren't that many. Although we did start getting into interesting things. I still remember, my dad saying, there's something new coming on. What's that? An adult cartoon. Saying, what does that mean? Dudley Do-Right was an adult in a cartoon. Wasn't that an adult cartoon? No. A cartoon designed for adults. You know what I'm talking about? You probably don't. But that's how it was actually presented. He was reading about it in the newspapers, I guess. Or it might have been a promo on television. But yes, it was presented as an adult cartoon, a cartoon designed not just for kids, but for adults as well. And what we're talking about here is, of course, the Flintstones. The family sat down for the debut of the Flintstones. because that was a new genre, a cartoon for adults. The other one, the Jetsons. That was another one of those in the genre of cartoons for adults. You probably didn't know that, but the Flintstones were the first non-kid cartoon. At least that's how I remember it. The Dark Crystal, yeah. Right, your hand is cramping up. That starts to happen when I'm holding these. I think Nicole talked about that too. When she was doing some painting, I was away for a while. And she did a beholder and talked about, when you hold on to something like this for a while, your hand kind of cramps up, especially when you don't bring down a liquid to stay hydrated, which I managed to do this afternoon. What was your impression of the Dark Crystal? That's your primary memory? It was interesting. It's not much of a memory. So these colors are okay. I'm kind of disappointed in how the green turned out, though. On the color chart, it's a really bright green. But maybe it's because of the color underneath it. A lot of it is dark, and it's a little bit translucent. Is that the green came out kind of dark. But when you look at them together, it's kind of a pleasing combination. If I were to work on this any further, I would probably replace the green with something, maybe a light green or something like that. Sorry, my nose has decided that it is cold and damp, and I have no collar which I can turn to it. So I'm getting nose drip. And that causes a little coughing. So I am well, that's not a problem. It's just just a microclimate down here in the studio. So these colors are just, as I apply them to this egg, for some reason are not as vibrant as they are on the color chart. And although they're not bad colors, they actually are. They're quite pretty and they look okay together. And I did expect this egg to have a brighter tone to it. And kind of like, this turned out to be nice and bright. This is very subdued. This is almost dragony. Yeah, I could put a gloss coat on it. We have some gloss coat spray. Let's see if what happens with that. Well, as it is, I'm like 5 minutes away from finishing this and about 10 minutes away from wrapping up the stream, so This is going to be one of the most successful in terms of timing in actually a long time. They'll usually end up short or long or something. And considering that the break took a little longer than I anticipated because of the phone calls that came in during the break, I apologize for the length of the break. The timing turned out to be okay anyway. So what we'll be able to do here at the end is you'll get to watch me clean the brushes a little more thoroughly than they have been with just the water that I've been using. So, let's see, what's the injury report today? Cramp in my left hand, my right foot fell asleep, I got paint everywhere, just a huge mess. Great. Okay. Somebody else will have to do the raid, of course, because I am not competent when it comes to doing these technical stuff like that. Okay. Well, this egg is not as bright as I thought it would be, but the colors do go well together. And there's spots. This is the wrong brush for this, but I'm just seeing spots that aren't painted as I rotate it. Should not have made the mistake of rotating this right at the end and yeah, anyway. At some point, it's just don't mess with it. I've learned that lesson over and over. It's just stop. Yeah, so let's look at what I did today before I just take up time cleaning brushes. We started out with the horizontal motif with some metallics, copper, bronze, and gold. That's the result, this egg. And this looks pretty good. Yeah, I think the colors are a little mottled, but I think that looks, I like the effect. So that's the first one. And then I did an egg for who keeps asking for pink. So we did you like that one? Metallic. I like the horizontal striping. That's the first one I did. I've done the vertical swirly stripes before, and that's kind of a nice effect. But I like the horizontal look, and so I decided the last egg would also be horizontally striped, and that's when I picked these blues and greens. Excuse me. So that's it. And so there are... Take this one off. Take this one off too. There are 3 relaxing painting eggs. Can I bend this down? Let me do that. There. That's a pretty good shot of the 3 eggs that I finished today. Yeah, that one looks really dragony. I think that actually could be a dragon egg. The Azure Dragon. This I don't know what kind of dragon that would be. This could be like a bronze dragon even, but possibly. So there, those are the eggs that I finished today. And excuse me again, as my nose continues to drip here. Thanks for the raids and the follows and the subscriptions. And come on back. Please join us. Join me for Relaxing Painting on Submarine Wednesday, where I continue the very slow slog through the 1960s vintage. It really is a 1960s vintage model of a Polaris launching nuclear-powered submarine. That one side of the hull is cut away, and you can see the inside of it. So you can watch me kind of put together the inside and paint stuff and cement stuff and turn it into a submarine. Now I'm going to return this to the upward perspective. There we go. You can see them from the top. And over the last couple of minutes, oh God, what a day, right? For some reason, I used this not too terribly long ago. There we go. This is just isopropyl alcohol, but what I'm doing is trying to do a little bit of deeper cleaning of the brushes here. Now this one still has purple paint in it. So thank you for the raids, thank you for the subscriptions, thank you for the follows. And if I have read chat correctly, this channel will be raiding somebody else, and someone who knows what they're doing will actually be conducting that raid, because I don't. I think someone told me how once. I'm pretty sure that someone told me how to do that, and it was really simple and straightforward, and I can't remember. I have no clue about how to do it, so I'm not going to try. But I'm pretty much done here. I put lots of colors in the palette. I have almost as many on my hands. So Afala says that she knows how to do it. So do I end the stream or just let it keep running until the raid happens? Pretty much done here. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. Kind of a ragged way to end. Ah, okay. So after I end the stream, there is a 2-minute window that I guess is long enough. Okay, well, these brushes are now cleaner than they were before. My hands are definitely not clean. I'm going to end the raid. I'm going to end the stream like 3 minutes early here, so that there's time for the raid that our channel will be perpetrating upon somebody else, and it will give me time also to get all this paint off of my fingers before I have to leave for my appointment in a little while. So thank you all for joining. Relaxing. Yeah, that's a good word. It's a real word. Thank you for joining Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 10 until 2. Our Dungeons and Dragons campaign on Sundays at 2, 3 Sundays a week. And Wednesday is Submarine Wednesday. We'll see you then. Thanks again. I'm ending the stream. The 2-minute window will start, so your 2 minutes starts now.